everyone, and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing a vinyl update video. I'm not sure what number we're on to now, but it's going to be quite a sort of special vinyl update video because this is the first video what I'm filming since I came back from America. I was there for 2 weeks visiting my great friend James Lobban. We made a couple of videos together, one on my channel, one on his channel, so I will link both of those in the description. And we also had a great time doing lots and lots of record shopping, so much that I've had to actually split it into two parts, the finds from America. In this first part I'll be showing the stuff I bought in Houston, and the second part will be Austin and San Antonio. But before I've got the American finds, I've got a few miscellaneous bits and bobs, things what I bought before I went to America. So yeah, I'll just get cracking with those. The first thing is, the first two are from I had a wee family holiday last month down in Yorkshire, and these are from Scarborough. First one is an Echo and the Bunnymen single song Never Stop. We were just passing a wee record shop, thought that I would pop in. So I just found this lying in a singles bin. Had to pick it up. It's a non-album track here, back to the song back to the song Heads Will Roll. So that was the first one. And from the same store I picked up Peter Gabriel's fourth album called Peter Gabriel, although it's often called Security, this one here. Now I really love his last album, but the one before this, Melt, could be my favourite off his whole sort of solo work. But I hear a lot of people say that this one is actually a bit better, so I wait and see. But this is a nice copy of it. They're really nice packaging. You got the inner sleeve with some sort of quite sort of obscure, sort of quite slightly scary images on it. They're slightly creepy, and it comes with the nice sort of custom label to it. Again, it's just sorry about the glare in this video. So that was also from Scarborough there. And then from a place called Ripon. This wasn't actually in a record shop, but it was a sort of place it was sort of full of independent sellers and that there's a lot of sort of antique things and that. And there was a guy selling some records but it was mostly new stuff. So at first I was thinking, oh god, it would just be the usual stuff, what you found at HMV, HMV kind of easily pick up on Amazon. Whether he had some really interesting things, some stuff which I didn't even know was ever put out on vinyl. I got two Elvis Costello releases from him. So the first one is this one called Kojak Variety. Was never even issued on vinyl. This I don't think until now. It's a 1995 release from him, and it's a sort of covers album here. And I listened to this. It's okay. This is really not essential. This is definitely kind of for the die-hard Costello fans. But it was so cheap. This copy of it. I thought I'll pick it up. It's a nice musical vinyl pressing here. I mean, it wasn't brilliant. This one, but it's not one which I kind of get rid of. Some probably notable songs he does in here. Bob Dylan's song I Threw It All Away, Leave My Kitten Alone, which I think Beatles covered as well, and probably the most well-known song on here is the Kinks track Days, which Costello does quite a nice version of that one, just on sort of black vinyl on the Warner Brothers label. So this was quite an interesting find, something which you don't see every day. And then I also found this one here, which is another Costello one. It's called Extreme Honey, the very best of the Warner Brothers years. Now at first I thought this was at first I thought this is a bootleg, kind of just because it doesn't actually look like a official release. It looks a little bit cheaply done, but it's an actual release, basically just covering the best songs off his Warner Brothers years, sort of the 90s sort of period from him. So there's a double record set here, a non-gatefold release here, and this is really good for someone like me, who really likes this sort of 70s and 80s stuff, who doesn't really want to sort of delve too much into the 90s stuff, unless I really find that I enjoy the majority of these. Again, just a double press in here on standard black vinyl on Warner Brothers. This was another really nice find there. And then I've got two things from I must have bought these in Edinburgh at some point since the last vinyl update video, from a favourite record store which is close to me, called Unknown Pleasures. Really great store there. I found an Aztec Camera 12-inch single for this song Oblivious. Now this is the reissued version on the Warner Brothers label. Originally this came out on Rough Trade. When Aztec Camera signs to Warner Brothers, they reissued this single and like it became like a significant hit for them. So 12-inch here, you've got the non-album track Orchid Girl, on the B-side, as well as like 2 tracks like from like the Highline Hard Rain album. So that's like the label there, like altogether, really nice, and really nice condition on this one. And then also at this store they had a lot of original Cure items. Like they had like a lot of like there's like really like sort of quite rare like early 80s stuff, like albums like Faith, like Pornography, and at the top. However, the one which I decided to get was Disintegration here, like because I hear great things like about this record. This is like this is usually considered like the Cure's masterpiece album. And like it is one that we just see like in like HMV quite a lot, like always about like £25. But like I managed to get like this like really nice like original copy like for like £20, which I thought was a really good deal there. Just a single vinyl though, like always like assumed that it was a double vinyl because the reissue like is pressed like on like double vinyl, but originally came out like as a single record here, and there's a sort of like nice sort of custom label on it. So yeah, like I really like this record. It wasn't as dark like as I kind of thought it would have been, but like overall I probably still do prefer Ahead on the Door. I think that's album just overall like is like sort of like more to my taste personally. And then one last thing before I get onto the American finds, was a recent reissue of ELO's Secret Messages album here. Now originally this was I'm not sure like if like you know like the backstory like to Secret Messages, but originally Jeff Lynne intended to make it like a big like double album, like sort of like a grand goodbye like from like ELO. Like however like the record company like wasn't having that, like they refused to put it out like as like a double record, like so it came out like as like the album like which you know, and like then he was forced to make like Balance of Power like as like a like contractual like obligation. However, this is the new reissue like of it, which is pressed on a double vinyl, and it comes with some of the missing tracks. Like whether I think there's still one song called Beatles Forever, which still like is like unreleased. However, there are some good tracks on here. Like this is like worth getting, like if like you are like a big fan of like ELO, because there's tracks on here which have never been like issued like on like vinyl before. Stuff like No Way Out, Hell, My Old Friend, Buildings of Ice. Like there are some really good like bonus tracks like on here. Like certainly like does like improve like the album like somewhat. Just on standard black vinyl, like in these I think they're just plain white sort of paper like in the sleeves on the Epic Records label there. So that is Secret Messages by ELO. Okay, so now on to the American finds. Now, like, what I usually do, like, in, like, these vinyl updates, like, is kind of go from, like, sort of, like, the least interesting items, like, through to, like, the more, like, interesting, like, sort of, like, rarities, like and like sort of like the more sort of like interesting like items. Like whether like in like this video, like we're doing it slightly differently, like I'm sort of going to do it like sort of like by store, like sort of like in like the order like which like I got them from, like so like it will be like a real like sort of like mixed bag like throughout the video. So first up, from a store called Heights Vinyl, like these were all like in like Houston, like by the way, like me and James like had a fantastic time like sort of like shopping like together. So the first one's here from Heights Vinyl. Picked this one up. It's a Tim Burgess solo album. Like this store, it wasn't sort of the most like sort of like appealing store, like sort of like going, like it looked more like a sort of like warehouse kind of thing, and like sort of like inside it was sort of like completely like completely like undecorated, except for like the stands that where like they had like the records. They had like some decent stuff, but like overall like it wasn't like a brilliant store. So I bought this one, bit of like a blind buy here. Like Tim Burgess, like I love like the Charlatans, like loved his last solo album, like what came out like this year. However, same can't be said for this one. This one is from 2012, and it's a more sort of quite mellow, sort of country style album. But me and James like both really like didn't like enjoy this one like at all. Like it's just very mellow, like very boring. Like whatever. This is sort of like a deluxe vinyl like edition of it. So it comes with like 2 records, like the album plus a sort of 12-inch single remix of like one of the songs. And then it also has a quite a nice booklet here, just with some, just like the lyrics and sort of some pictures and stuff in it, which is quite nice, as well as a CD. But I have like kept this one like in like the shrink wrap like as it came. So yeah, that is Tim Burgess. Oh No, I Love You. The album's called. Probably not one which I would like recommend. So that was priced at $19.97 and like I picked this one up like in, I think it was a $2 bill. Like, but like the guy, like quite a friendly guy, like just let me like have like both of them like for like $20. So this one like this one was like effectively free. Like it's a China Crisis album called Difficult Shapes. and Passive Rhythms. I believe this is their debut record here, because someone recently showed their album Flaunt the Imperfections. Like, someone said you really need to listen to like the first two, like they're like much better like albums. Like, so like when I found this one, like I was quite glad. Listen to it. It is good. It is pretty good album. I don't think it's quite as good like as like Flaunt the Imperfections, but it was still like overall a really good record. Like, plus it was free as well, so I can't really like argue with that. Just on Virgin Records. However, I think this is some sort of reissue, because on the back it says 1987, like whether like the original record came out in 82 or 83, like not too sure, but still a really nice find here. And then the next shop we went to was called Deep End Records. The only thing like on like the shop floor like which like took my eye was this George Harrison's Electronic Sound album. Now this like in like the UK is a very like rare like release here. Like original pressings like off it like are like very hard to come by. Like has like since been reissued though, like for people that for like people like who like really like want to hear it. However, like I like found like this very nice like American copy of it like for like a fairly like reasonable price there. However, like the American copies I checked on Discogs like are like a lot more like sort of common. So like I maybe did like slightly like overpay for this. It's not one like which I really need to hear. Like it's more just like for like the George Harrison collection. But it is a nice copy, still retains like its original like in the sleeve, as well as it's on the Zapple label. Like there's only like a few releases like on like this label here. So quite a like interesting, like slightly odd item there, George Harrison's Electronic Sound album. And then also from that shop, Deep End Records, they had like a little box like next to like, the counter like of like stuff which like must have just like come in because it wasn't like even like priced up. Like James found a XTC record like which you didn't buy like, which like he didn't buy like originally, but like then like we went back to the store like when like he realised that like he didn't like actually like already have that album. In like that box like I found this record which I've been hunting down for like a few years. It's Nick Lowe's first solo album called Jesus of Cool. Like Nick Lowe being like producer like off like most of like Elvis Costello's like best albums, and like I really love like his follow-up like record to this called Labour of Lust. So like it's quite nice to get a copy of like off like his first record. Just like there's the back of it there, like the songs on here which most people know, like I love the sound of Breaking Glass, So It Goes, Heart of the City like as well. So yeah, there is some good stuff on here. Also quite like this inner sleeve here, like it's all like a timeline like of all like the records like which like he's been like involved with, like so like the Richard Schwartz sort of stuff, like right up like to like My Aim Is True like by Elvis Costello there. And this is on the Radar Records label, which I believe was Nick Lowe's like own label. So yeah, Jesus of Cool by Nick Lowe, another really nice find. And then also like right across Texas, like they have like these like a chain of stores called Half Price Books, which like as it sounds like it's sort of like sort of discount like sort of store for like used books. Like whether like they have like quite a good selection like of like DVDs, Blu-rays, CDs, like as well as like vinyl like records. Like we went to like quite a few like Half Price bookstores, like so like the first few things here like are ones like from like Half Price Books like in Houston. I actually like got a book like at one of them, this Morrissey book, Morrissey FAQ, which is sort of like a which sort of talks about, well basically like anything like about Morrissey really, sort of goes through like all like his records, like album by album, like as well as like there's other like sort of side features and stuff like sort of Morrissey and driving and stuff. It's just interesting like little like odds and ends here like about like Morrissey. So yeah, like a quite nice book here like for like a very like reasonable price as well. And then also, like at Half Price Books, I found this quite hard to come by CD. It's Paul McCartney Liverpool Sound Collage. Like although like it isn't necessarily like credited like solely like to like McCartney. Like you do get things by Youth and like Super Furry Animals like on here like as well. This is more sort of like a sort of sound collage like experimental release. Like I believe like commissioned by I think it was Peter Blake. Like sort of like soundtrack like some like exhibition like what was going on like in like Liverpool. So yeah, just a bit of like an oddity one here, quite cheap, like quite cheap, like wouldn't like have bought it like if like I didn't like see it, like sort of thing. And then a couple of records like from that first half price books, I got another Big Country album called Steel Town. Now I love their first record, which is called The Crossing. That's a really good album. This was a follow-up from 1984, and it's still a good record. This maybe just loses a little bit like off like the magic like off like the first album, and again this is just like a like nice like cheap copy of it here, just like the original like in the sleeve and the original custom label like on it. So that's Big Country's Steel Town. And then this was a bit of like a blind buy for me, but like James has sort of like assured me that I would really like this band. Like he says that like they were like really good, like sort of like pick this one out, like saying like Ross, like you will quite like this album. It's by a band called The Fix, who I had never heard of. This is the album Reach for the Beach, and like if I was to compare this like to something else, it reminded me like a bit of like the later like Police work, like sort of stuff like Synchronicity at that album, and like there's pictures like off like the band. I'm not sure like if like they were ever quite popular like in like the UK, but like we did see like a lot of like their records like when like we were like out and about just on the standard like MCA records labels. So this was quite a nice find here, like again like quite cheap sort of blind buy for me there. And then so the following day we had a sort of like mammoth like record shopping day. I went to must have been about at least like 7 different stores, and that so like the first store which we went to was definitely the best like off like the day. Like it was called Cactus Music, and like yeah, it was definitely the biggest record shop which I've like ever been to. You sort of go in, they had sort of racks of CDs like kind of like going back, like, and like then they had like different bins like for like sort of record store day stuff. They still had like a lot of like stuff like left over from that, like including like all the Bowie ones, which I was like quite surprised to see. You then went through like the back, like, and like they had sort of like a lot of new vinyl, like as well as like a big like used section, as well as like sort of like loads of box sets and stuff like was been like out of print like for years. Like they still like had copies like and like were selling it. So yeah, like I got quite a bit like from Cactus Music. Sort of non-music item, there was this poster here which I got like of Johnny Marr's Playland records here. Like must be like a like sort of like authentic poster like from at the time, like which like they had like to promote the record. See the price is some like off like $3 there, so this will hang like quite nicely somewhere like in like my room. And then just like as like I was checking out, like I've seen like this little box set like as well is for Paul Weller's album Sonic Kicks, the singles collection. So you get I think 5 7-inch singles like in here, and like this is great because you get like exclusive B-side tracks like on here. And then just like as like I was checking out, like I've seen like this little box set like as well is for Paul Weller's album Sonic Kicks, the singles collection. So you get I think 5 7-inch singles like in here, and like this is great because you get like exclusive B-side tracks like on here. Like there's at least 4 songs like in here like which aren't on like the Sonic Kicks like or like any like off like his albums like for that matter. Just get a wee download code and stuff, and then the singles come out like this, and they all have really lovely, really colourful like artwork. So you get That Dangerous Age, The Attic, When Your Garden's Overgrown, Dragonfly, as well as a live acoustic version of That Dangerous Age. So this overall really, really nice little box set here from Paul Weller. So then onto the actual vinyl records from Cactus Music, and I found like a lot of Kinks records actually like out like in like the wild. And like out again like the wild, like quite like unexpected, like considering like the Kinks like never had like great commercial success like in like America, like but like nonetheless I kept seeing this record and Low Budget, which is one which I was like missing like from like the Kinks. This is, as far as I know, the original on the Aristar label there, and I don't think there's anything too special in this, just in like a sort of like plain like inner sleeve there. So Kinks Low Budget, one of their better 70s records here. And then I also kept seeing a lot of records like from like this next artist as well. It's Lindsey Buckingham. So this is his first solo record, Law and Order here. A really nice copy of like again little bit of mark like on off like a mark like on like the back there, but nothing like to get like too like worried about. Just a nice sort of gatefold to this one here. So this was made while Fleetwood Mac was still together. I believe in 1981 this came out, so just after the Tusk album. And again, you've got like the sort of like original like inner sleeve with it, and we're on the Asylum records for this one here. So I've not heard this record yet, but I am like quite eager to hear it because I don't really know too much like off like Lindsey Buckingham's solo work. And the next album is another one which I've sort of been like hunting for like a little while. Like I see this one in London, like, but like they were wanting about £20 for it, which I thought was a bit steep. So like when I saw this really lovely copy like for $10, like I just had to take it. It is the Beach Boys' Surf's Up album. Now I'm not the biggest Beach Boys fan like in like the world, but like I do really like sort of like I do really like sort of like key albums from them, and this is certainly one of them. There's just some great like absolute like pop like masterpieces I got here. Stuff like Field Flows, Surf's Up, Till I Die. There is so many great songs on here. Like really like a phenomenal album. From 1971 this came out, and this is just such a lovely copy. It comes with the original like insert with all like the lyrics. Wrong way around, like lyrics and sort of pictures like off the band, and the record is on the EMI Stateside label for this one. So yeah, a really like lovely find here. And then another really nice find as well is something what's quite rare like in like the UK. It's a original pressing of the Rolling Stones Sticky Fingers album, complete with the sort of zipper like on like the front, which is still in quite good like working order. Like if like you're I say that now and it's bloody jammed, but like it sort of still works, which is quite impressive. So it's sort of like it comes out the top like this. The album, no, it doesn't come out the top. It comes out the side here. Sort of back up is a sort of weird sort of gatefold thing here. Not sure like if like this was actually supposed to like open up like that, but it comes out the side and it's got again the original like in a sleeve with it. Record which I've kind of been like meaning to buy like for like quite a long time. Like just always been waiting like for like the nice copy like to crop up, like which just certainly is like very clean like pressing off it here. The Rolling Stones classic Sticky Fingers album. And then the last item from that Cactus Music store was this album, which I was not expecting to see like at all. Like it was issued for Record Store Day this year, like whether like only like in like America. So this is kind of like one like the key finds like off like the whole trip, like I would say. It is the Kinks album Phobia here. So this is like their last album. I believe the first time it's ever been pressed like on vinyl like as well. Lovely like Record Store Day like version like off it here. Just get like the tracks like on at the back there, and it's a triple gatefold packaging, so very like impressive here. Sort of opens up like that. You get I believe this is a poster with it. Just suss it out here. Yeah, sort of poster design like off like the album cover there, which is pretty cool. All the lyrics in here, but the best thing about this one is probably the records themselves, which are on this sort of lovely sort of orangey sort of marble style vinyl. Just really like nicely done here. This originally came out I think in 1994. Was the Kinks' final album, like as I said, and I don't think it's ever one which is considered like one of like the really best albums. But I am almost now complete like on like the Kinks, so this was one which I kind of like just like had to take. It was like the last copy that they had like going off it. The other vinyl's sort of quite similar, although slightly sort of lighter shades like off like orangey sort of yellow. So yeah, really lovely pressing here off the Kinks Phobia. So the next one we went to was, I think it was called Sounds Revolutions, like although like I could be like wrong there. Like again, like another like fairly like decent store, like probably like not like as like impressive like as like Cactus Music was. I still managed to find like two items like there. First one is a Simon and Garfunkel thing, I think just called Simon and Garfunkel, but this is sort of very early like recordings like of theirs, like made like well before like Simon and Garfunkel like became like sort of like became like sort of like famous and that. So there's a wee write up like on at the back, and this, as far as I know, is the original record like issued like in I think 1967 like this was put out on the Pickwick label here. So that's the hit sounds of Simon and Garfunkel, like it's called, this album. And the next one is a Fleetwood Mac record from like the early part like off like the 1970s. Now like these like they're not like the most like expensive records, like but like you do sort of like rarely see them. Like so this is like the first time I think I've ever seen a copy like of the album Mystery to Me here. I know very sort of like odd like album covers like covers like early Fleetwood Mac, like always tended to have. This one here is just sort of weird, like gorilla like on it, and like a wee like old man like on like the back. But there's the band there though. From I think 1973 this one came out. I'm not 100% sure, but thankfully Christine McVie like is on like this album, and she usually like makes like these early Fleetwood Mac records like really like worth listening to. Like she always gets about like 2 or 3 songs, and they're almost always very high quality. Just as a sort of plain grey like inner sleeve here, like although I believe it probably is the original of what it came with, just on the Reprise records. And again, you get a quite sort of plain like lyric insert, like, but like at least it does have it there. And I believe the guitarist in the band at this point in time was, I think it was Bob Welsh, like was like their guitarist like for this record here. So that is Fleetwood Mac, Mystery to Me. The next one up is another Kinks album. Like I told you that like I was having like quite a lot of luck like finding like their albums like out again like the wild. So I got a copy of Misfits finally here, like one which again like you rarely see like in like Britain, and like when like you do, they're usually like overcharging like massively for it. So this is one of like their better 70s ones, like again like I said, like with like low budget. 78 I think this one came out, and like you get some like pretty good tracks on here, such as like Rock and Roll Fantasy, just can't remember like some of the others on here, Permanent Waves, Trust Your Heart. So yeah, there are some like good tracks like on here on the Aristar label here. So nothing too interesting like with like this one here, but still quite a nice find though nonetheless. Okay, now the next couple came from a shop called I think it was Sound Exchange this year. Like there's actually like two shops like here in like Houston that called like Sound Exchange, and like both were sort of like pretty poor, like sort of like average like sort of stores. Like, for the first one, like I basically bought like from like the bargain bin sort of thing. So I got another Big Country item. This is their Wonderland EP, which wasn't issued like on any of like their albums. So again, something like quite nice to have like from Big Country. And I also got like this Pete Townsend solo record like for like $1. Like all what's it called? Like All the Best Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes, one of his solo records. So I've got no idea like how like good like or like otherwise this record is, but it's just quite a nice copy of it like for quite a nice copy of it though like for like $1, like I have to say, just with like the original like in the sleeve and like gatefold to it. And then from the other Sound Exchange store, like I managed to find like this like Morrissey record, like his second to last album, which is called World Peace Is None of Your Business. Now Morrissey's records usually get quite hard to find like soon after like they are like released, and like this is one like which I can rarely see again. So I thought like I'll like give it a go. I hear this isn't one of his very best albums. It's actually like usually considered worse than what's his last one called like Low in High School, which that wasn't like a brilliant record either. So like I'm not expecting too much like from this album. It is just like a nice nice copy of it though like bought like brand new with his band on like the inside, and you get the lyric insert with it. And this is just I think it's on a coloured vinyl or something. No, it's just on standard, but it's on for some interesting reason on the old EMI Harvest label, which I don't think was in use at like this point. Honestly, that was very sort of like very much I sort of like to bring back like sort of like old like record labels like from his youth. So Harvest like was like one of them for this album here. And then the last used finds out from like that day was from another Half Price Books we went to. Managed to find a Crowded House first album, which I believe is just like self-titled. Now I've got a greatest hits CD of theirs, and I do like really like enjoy it. So I thought that I would maybe start like picking up like their records like when I see them. And like this was like quite a nice like Half Price Book find. The songs on here, which most people know, is Don't Dream It's Over, as well as the song Mean to Me, which is on the greatest hits, and I think Something So Strong like as well, like is one which I might know. Just a nice copy of it with the original like inner sleeve, and we are on the old style Capitol Rainbow label for this release. So that's another nice find, Crowded House. Okay, so that is actually it for like sort of like finds like from like Houston. But like before like I go, like I've got like 2 more things which I purchased like online like before like the trip, like from like a like American seller, like but like I got them like actually shipped like to James's house, like kind of just to save like a bit of like money like really. They are 2 XTC albums which I had quite a hard time like finding like out like in like the wild. So the first one is Drums and Wires here finally like got a copy of it, like at last. And this is probably the best copy possible, like which I could get, because not only like is like the actual album like very clean, like very bright cover still, like there's no sort of ringworm on it. It is a promo copy, and it's on. I believe this is it's actually on like the original white label. So yeah, like my first like ever like white label promo here. And this is a slightly strange track listening to this one, because like as far like as I was aware, like there was 2 track listings for it, like a UK one which opened with Making Plans for Nigel, and like a US version which took that song off and like had Life Begins at the Hop like as the opening track. However, this record actually contains both of those songs. Instead, like it takes out the track like Day In Day Out. So like I'm not sure like whether that was just for the promo ones, like or promo ones, like or like if this is from like a different country maybe. But it also comes with a bonus 7-inch single, which I've not really like looked at too much. Just has the songs Limelight on it, which is a Colin Moulding track, and Chain of Command. So yeah, quite an interesting one here. Like again, this is marked like free single, like not for sale, like as well. So yeah, like quite like an interesting, quite an interesting piece here. XTC's Drums and Wires album. And then the other online purchase, and like the last thing like for today's video, is XTC's Oranges and Lemons. So yeah, I'm thrilled to finally have a copy of this wonderful album like with me. So yeah, this is again a lovely copy, and once again it's actually a promo as well, although this isn't like on like a white label. There's the back of it there, just with like the band members. And again with this, the seller kindly provides like these sort of clear, like sort of like protective like inner sleeves, which I'm not like the biggest fan like of these, like, but like they do protect the records like better than like the paper sleeves, but you still get them like with like sort of like the portraits of each member as well as the lyrics to the songs. So yeah, absolutely thrilled like once again to have a really nice American pressing here of Oranges and Lemons, like one of XTC's like again like one like their like best albums. But like to be honest with you, like you can't really go wrong like with any like XTC album. So yeah, that is it for the first part of this video. Like if you have enjoyed watching, like be sure like to catch like the second part, like which should be like uploaded like fairly soon, like where like I've got like more like finds like from like Austin as well as San Antonio. So yeah, so I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.